Do you feel frustrated all the time? Are you always doubting yourself and your path forward? Or are you feeling overwhelmed by all the things that you don't even know what they are half the time?
Yeah.
Are you procrastinating a lot? And like these are signs and symptoms of you being in a space where you feel isolated, you don't know what to do, and you don't feel safe enough to move forward. And that's very normal for human beings. Human beings don't operate very well in isolation. It requires a lot of training for you to be in. This is why we actually study people who are like monks and hermits and those kind of people, because it takes a lot for somebody to go out there alone in isolation, be like that. We even admire people like that. It's like who was it? I think Joe Rogan in one of his stand-up comedies, like, you know what's the worst form of punishment we have? Is we take people who are among murderers and rapists and all that stuff, we take them from there and put them in isolation. It's not to be among the worst people or among us, but it's to put them in isolation even from
Yeah.
that context. Why? Because our mind can't handle it.
Yeah.
And one of the first things that I've heard over and over from coaches is that they feel isolated, they feel alone, because we go, how do we, a lot of us get trained either online or in person, or we find resources to do this, especially if you're in a conference or you're among comrades, other people who are doing this, you're excited, you want to jump in, you want to do this. And all of a sudden you go back home, you're in front of your computer, you're excited to do this the first day, second day, third day, and you do a bunch of stuff and you run into a problem. And then you go into research more again. And then pretty soon you realize, okay, I can't make heads and tails of this. This looked much simpler around other people. Guess what? Your human emotions are coming into the picture. It's still simple. You're getting overwhelmed. You're not
Yeah.
among other people who are actually doing this, who can give you a frame of reference. And by the way, this is a human thing. It's not even like a business thing. Like if you think of a normal human community, you're among people who are, some people are a little bit younger than you, some people are the same age as you, some people are older than you. You rely on people who are your comrades to keep you challenged, supported. You're competing with them. You are supporting people who are a little bit behind you, who are younger than you, and you're seeking wisdom for people who are ahead of you. Now we're talking about age, but in terms of skill sets, that's true in business as well. So what happens in community, and what Sherry is referring to is that it's not just any community. It has to be a community of coaches who are actually moving their business forward. Not a certification kind of community where people are thinking about being a coach, or they have been trained in different modalities and they're considering, or they're using it for different purposes. Because some coaches will use it in their workplace and other for other needs they have, or some people use it just for themselves. I know coaches who just get trained for the sake of developing their own awareness, and that's perfectly fine. But if you're not around people who are actually building businesses, so they're going through the process and the challenges, and they have similar questions as you, and they are going through the same struggles that you, now, even though you have the same problems, one, you don't feel alone in the process. You feel like, oh, okay, you have similar challenges. If they have worked it out, I can work it out. There are other colleagues and people who are going through the same process. You've seen other people who've come up with the solution. So now you have a frame of reference, and somebody can give, yeah, you don't need to focus on this stuff. Just focus on this other thing if somebody's ahead of you.
Yeah.
And that's what ends up happening in our community. A lot of times we go on our live call, a coach will be like, I'm overwhelmed with this, and the other. And as soon as we go into the conversation, it simplifies very quickly. Why? Because they're doing unnecessary things a lot of times, or they get getting overwhelmed by their emotions, but it has nothing to do with the business piece of it, or they're
Yeah.
not tracking something, or they don't have much data around what they're trying to do, or they haven't tried something long enough. These are the things that come up that you need to be in consistent conversation. And for us, it doesn't just come up in sessions. You can reach out to us. You can connect with us. Hey, I had a question in between sessions about, I reached out to this person. This was the response. I didn't know how to respond. How do you do that?
Yeah.
Like these things require you to be among other human beings. And trust me, the path of business is hard enough on its own. When you're isolated, it makes it 10 times harder for any human being. It doesn't matter where you are. Now, you might notice that some people can do this in isolation, not because they can do this in isolation, but because they have had the skill sets. They have a frame of reference. They might have a team around them that you don't know anything about, like Sherry said. They might be putting Instagram posts or sharing wins, but with no context whatsoever. One of the things that I always do, because I hated that in the beginning when I was starting out, whenever I would go into a certification community, somebody would have, I just got 5 clients and we just finished the certification. Like how the hell did you do that? I just got this. So I always give context as to, at the end, I've been doing this for a long time. This is not a win out of nowhere. I've been practicing this. Like I always give that. Maybe that's my own personal thing, but I don't want somebody to think that, oh, I just got in and I got a bunch of clients, because that's what everybody wants. That's what usually organizations who are training you and doing all these things, they want you to think, and that gives you
Yes.
unrealistic expectations a lot of times.